We are into the final Divisional Cup of the season. We've had the opens round. I'll go over all the big teams that qualified, which big duos missed out, and I'll give you my top 10 predictions for Saturday's finals, as well as going over all the new duos on the region. Let's get straight into it. Now, we definitely had some big names miss out on this final. I'll go over all of them in a minute, but it is still looking super stacked. Here is the top 10 from opens. We had Sky and Scroll, the reigning Divisional Cup champions from last week, coming in first place with over 1,000 points. They looked brilliant in this round. We had Sky having the most damage, Scroll third for eliminations. These guys are on a different level right now, and surely they are one of the favourites for the finals. I'll do my predictions for that in a minute. In second place, we had Swizzy and Pixie, a team that will be looking to build on last week's performance. They managed an 8th place finish, all whilst being contested, which is very impressive. They are now finally uncon at Lethal Labs, a small spoiler for later. I'm sure the ceiling for them is now very high. In the third place, we had a team that has been doing exceptionally well lately, also finishing with over 1,000 points. That is, of course, Truly and Zynox. Now, these guys are very underrated, but they are proving that they're not just a one-hit wonder. They came 4th in the Divisional Cup last week, 6th in week 3, and they're proving that they're here to stay, coming in 3rd in these opens, a very impressive placement. In 4th place, we've got Syaz and Scary Sean, the Spanish duo, also proving that they're here to stay because they finished 3rd in last week's finals. A lot of these new duos are showing that they can perform in tournaments. They won't just be restricted to the off season. They do have what it takes, so credit to these guys. And in 5th place, we had a new duo, and that is of course Zarbi and Finchik. This is definitely an interesting team. It means that Kantry is now with Rakuzan, but of course this duo will be contesting Chino and Pablo Wingu over at Sandy Strip. And as you can see from looking at the rest of the top 10, it is all big names that you would fully expect to make the finals. We can see Vico and Malabuka in 7th place. Vico again having the most eliminations in this round. He has been playing at such a high level lately, credit to him. We've also got Chap and Flixie in 8th place, bouncing back after failing to qualify last week. We'll have to see how they get on. They are landing over at Classified Canyon, which is a spot that I'm not the biggest fan of, purely because it's very low down, the elevation isn't great, and you can easily get eliminated out of the sky before you've even had a chance to start your game. But listen, they are back in finals. We'll see how they get on. In terms of the other big teams that qualified, you'll be able to see all of those on the map in a moment, but I do want to let you know that Mr. Savage and Velo and Sharkantini both managed to make the finals. We will be seeing them on Saturday. We did actually have some completely new teams qualify. I already mentioned Zarbi and Finchik, but we also had Ping and Haris qualify. Previously, Haris was with Pink, and Ping was of course with Kiro. Mumsy and Skyjump also made it. Mumsy was obviously with Sato before. Sato is now playing with Pink, but that new duo were unable to qualify. We also had Dan DePuzo and Werex qualify, as did Dexy and Frosty. Dexy is officially split with CZB. CZB is now playing with Phyto. Now, before I take a look at the map for finals and give my top 10 predictions, let's go over all the big teams that didn't make it, because it is quite a long list. As you can see here, a couple of the big Polish teams not qualifying, Kami and Hari failing to make it, which of course means that iDrop and Marius for the first time will be uncontested at Bumpy Bay. Stay tuned for the predictions later to see if they make my top 10. We also had Dom and Dimush, who were the runners up last week, not even qualify. Yapko and Panzer, the champions from week 3, not making it. Queasy and Murstache yet again failing to make finals. 362nd place is where they finished, which is just nowhere near what we would expect from a duo of that quality. They are going to have to hit the ground running in the new season. They're going to have to start so well, because the last few months it hasn't been good at all, and we need to see a lot more from them, because right now I'm not even convinced that they would make the Major 1 finals. We also had Vanya and Wox not qualify, and as I've mentioned a couple of times, I do think it's time for this duo to split. It felt like they only played together because they were the kind of last options for each other. I'm not sure they have that much chemistry. I don't think it makes much sense. I feel like there's better options out there for each player. I know it's probably a case of waiting for someone to become available, and they're probably sticking until that happens, but I think they just need to cut their losses and try something else out. We also had Peterbot play this tournament from NA Central. He was with Acorn. They only ended up playing 8 games on the first day, and they finished in 659th, 4 places from the bottom, so not a great tournament from them. And here's a list of all the other big duos that missed. As you can see, Mongrel and Turtle not able to qualify. Darkos and Minori, a team that briefly did split, but they are officially back together, but they won't be in this finals. We also had Shura and Repairs not make it after finishing in 5th place in back-to-back Divisional Cup finals. We won't be seeing Tayson and Ghost, and Fredoxy and Sandguild narrowly miss out, finishing 52nd in the Opens. So later on, I do want to talk about all the new duos in the region as well as some other news, but for now, let's go over my top 10 predictions for Saturday's finals. In 10th place, I've gone for iDrop and Marius. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first time they've had Bumpy Bay uncontested in all of these Divisional Cups, so we don't really know what the ceiling is for these guys. I personally am very excited to see how they do, because they've not been looking too bad even whilst contested, and obviously when you take away that spawn fight, they will only get better. I do worry a little bit about Bumpy Bay because it is one of those areas of the map with low elevation, meaning they can just get eliminated out of the sky quite easily. However, the teams over at that gas station, Savage and Velo and King Cringe and Twy, will be fighting off spawn, so hopefully that's enough of a distraction to save iDrop and Marius from early deaths. These guys obviously have a lot of quality. The only reason I haven't put them higher is because they're yet to have a really big performance this season. In 9th place, I've gone for the new duo of Skyjump and Mumsy. I could easily see these guys having a new duo bounce and performing well in these finals. Obviously last week we had Mumsy and Sato uncontested at Painted Palms. They were only able to manage a 29th place finish, but with that new duo bounce from uncontested Painted Palms, I'm sure we could see Mumsy and Skyjump perform. In 8th place, I've gone for Strokey and Bevies. Now with Dom and Demush out of the finals, that meant Clawsy Lodge was a free-for-all, and Strokey and Bevies are officially uncontested there. This is one of those teams that's very underrated. I feel like no one talks about them that much because they're not the most explosive team, they're not the most exciting, but they always perform well. They can always string a top 10 performance together, and they're definitely not a team to count out. So 8th place is where I've got them. I also think they might benefit from the Shark and Hottie spawn fight. They may be able to go a little bit more undetected than they normally would. Potentially they can avoid getting W keyed. We'll have to see how they go. In 7th place, I've gone for Akira and Karama, who are of course landing at that south split, and I have to say that whole southwest portion of the map is looking very good in this tournament. Usually it's quite congested. In the past few weeks it's been a real issue, and it's why I've been predicting Sky and Scroll a lot lower than I normally would, but that seems to have stopped. It is looking quite sparse if anything this week. There's not a lot of teams there, so I could see all of those duos performing well. But to go back to Akira and Karama, they finished in 7th place last week. They were first after 4 games. They didn't quite have the final 2 games that they would have hoped for, but it was still a very good tournament for them, and I see absolutely no reason why they can't replicate that, especially with an easier off spawn situation. In 6th place, I've gone for Chino and Pablo Wingu, and as I say every week, these guys are the hardest team to predict in the whole lobby because you never know whether they're going to be fighting, whether they're going to be splitting over at Sandy Strip. There's always going to be teams on them, and it's just impossible to know what's going to happen. But what we do know is that Chino and Pablo have incredible firepower. They are an insanely good team, and there's plenty of loot for free duos over at that POI. So in my view, I think they're going to do well. 6th place is where I've got them. In 5th, I've gone for Swizzy and Pixie. Now this is definitely a prediction that could change come Saturday when we have the updated map, because I am tempted to put them higher. For now, I've only got them in 5th, and the reason for that is because I just don't think they're going to be uncontested at Lethal Labs in 6 out of 6 games. It is one of those spots that teams will go to if they're needing a big comeback game, so they could just end up getting contested in games 4 and 5 just randomly, which may affect their chances of doing well. Swizzy and Pixie are on paper one of the best duos in the EU, 2 incredible players, so they will of course be doing very well in this tournament from a potentially uncon drop as well. 5th is where I've got them. Honestly, that could go a lot higher though. We'll have to see where I land on Saturday. In 4th place, I've gone for a team that are actually contested. That is of course Shark and Teeny. Now listen, they won 6-0 against Hutty and Fishy X last week. Hutty and Fishy not even managing a single point. They had a really bad tournament. Do I think it's going to be as bad this week? Probably not. I mean, it literally can't get any worse. All they have to do is get a point and they've improved. I'm sure Hutty and Fishy X will win at least once off spawn. If you had to ask me how that fight's going to go, I'd say probably 5-1 to Shark and Teeny. I'm not sure they're going to be able to win 6-0 again. Based on that, based on the fact that they probably will lose at least one game to the spawn fight, I'm not sure I can see Shark and Teeny winning, but they will do very well. They will make the most of their opportunities. Top 4 is where I've got them. In 3rd place, I've got gone for Vico and Malabuka. I predicted these guys to win last week and they weren't great. They finished in 12th, which is an okay performance, but certainly I would have expected a lot better considering their off-spawn situation, considering the fact they were uncontested, considering the fact that this is a really good drop. They can build the big ramp, they can wingsuit into zone, avoid taking loads of damage. They have a great strategy at the moment, and with that you would be expecting them to finishing at least for top 5 in every tournament. I've got them in 3rd purely because the 2 teams above them are doing so well at the moment, but I could easily see these guys challenging for the win. They are a great duo. I've been speaking in practically every video about how explosive Vico is at the moment. Yeah, I've got a lot of praise for these guys. In 2nd place, I've gone for Focus and Thomas HD. Now, these guys won the Divisional Cup in week 4, and I could easily see them replicating that. It wasn't ideal for them last week. They came 10th. Yes, they weren't happy with the zones, but it wasn't their best performance. Can they bounce back? Certainly. I just think there's one team that might outdo them, and that is of course last week's winners, Sky and Scroll. Now, the reason why I've been a little bit lower on Sky and Scroll lately is because of their off spawn. As I mentioned earlier, they've had a lot of teams with them at Battlewood, and because of that they've been getting dragged into a lot of unnecessary fights. They've struggled to get out of their POI, they've been stuck in the storm. It's been difficult for them. That looks like it is about to change. They don't have too many teams with them. They only have Belusi and Zangi, and they will be splitting the POI with them. So Sky and Scroll should be left uninterrupted. They should be able to go about their business, play out their strategy, sit in the storm, avoid taking damage, and they should be able to close out some wins. And listen, these guys have been the standout duo, not just in EU, but in World Fortnite in this season. They've been so good. And could they get the 3rd Divisional Cup win? I believe it is fully on the cards. They are my prediction to take 1st place. In terms of honourable mentions, I could talk all day. There's so much quality in this lobby. I'll try and keep it down to a few. I think Syaz and Scary Sean could play very well. They finished 3rd place last week. No reason why they can't replicate that. You've also got Acer and Podesite over at Pumping Station, who have been looking good lately. And then there's of course Chap and Flixie. Now, I've already explained my issues with Classified Canyon and why I'm not convinced on it as a POI. Chap and Flixie haven't looked 100% lately. I do wonder whether there's a chance that the duo could split before Major 1. I think it's on the cards. I do hope they stick because we obviously know that they do have a lot of quality and they do have a lot of potential. I'm just not sure this Divisional Cup Finals is going to be the one for them. And watch out for Belusi and Zangi too. They finished in 11th place whilst being contested at the south side of Battlewood Boulevard last week. Now that they are Uncon, can they build on that performance? I think there's a good chance. Moving over to NA Central, it is unfortunately a bit of a quiet one. We only had 2 European teams qualify for the finals. They were Truly and Zynox, who finished 14th in Opens, and Malabuka and Panzer, who narrowly snuck into that top 50, finishing in 47th place. So we will be seeing both of those duos in Saturday's finals. And as promised, here's a list of all the other new duos on EU. I won't go over all of them in this video, but I do just want to briefly mention Dew and Ankido, because that is the result of Dew and Skyjump splitting, and honestly I do think that's a pretty solid duo. I could see them doing well. I do want to speak about 2 more tournaments, one of them being the Solo Victory Cup that we had on Sunday. We had 5 players manage to win 2 games in the finals. 2 of those were pro players that we all know, Pix and Zynox both managing it. The other 3 players, up and coming pros that I hadn't really heard too much about. We had Amexo, a 15-year-old Danish player, congratulations to him. We also had Lulo win a game, hopefully I'm saying that name right. He is a French-Canadian player, so he's not even from EU, and he managed to win 2 games, so big credit to him. And we also had Quers7 win twice for his first ever earnings, congratulations to him. I'm hoping all these players are legitimate. I haven't seen anything to say otherwise yet, but I will give them all the benefit of the doubt, so well done to them. The other cup I want to talk about is Leo the Crack's European Championship. Now, this was a 2v2 creative tournament that ended up being won by Vico and Focus. Credit to them. I mean, Focus is really establishing himself as one of the best fighters in the EU. He is just putting himself so high in that conversation. He has been great lately. We did see some interesting teams in this tournament. We had Shark playing with Littlex, who is an up-and-coming Romanian player. We also had Sobi play with Mumsy. Sobi is a very good Belgian fighter, a very good creative player, someone who I've been aware of for a while. He is now in Division 1. He's playing with Karma. Definitely one to watch out for in the future. But listen, this tournament was very fun. Always cool to have 2v2 cups, especially with the upper and lower bracket. I definitely think that's a good format. Excited excited to see what other future events we might have. Listen, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to stay up to date on all European Fortnite news. If you want to support me any further, then using code SPUDZONE in the Fortnite item shop is a great way to do that. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.